This is Kilo, and I just wanted to go ahead and go over the number one rule in automotive lockouts. I was having a conversation with a few people in a locksmith group, and they were asking me about techniques I use to open different cars, some that they were having trouble with. And we were talking, about jiggler keys and slim jims and reach tools and everything else, leashes. And in the end, I just told them, whatever you choose to go with and whichever one you're comfortable with, just remember the number one rule. I was actually shocked at how many messages I got, about why that's a rule and how many guys have been working at shops didn't know this was a rule. So I just felt like I'll go ahead and go over this with you if your trainer never did. So the number one rule in automotive lockouts is you always start at the passenger side door. Under really no circumstances, actually, under no circumstances do you start at the driver's side door. You never use the reach tool on the driver's side. You never use in the door tools, really ever. So, this is a huge rule, and I'm going to explain why here. Number one, road clubs demand this. If your company is affiliated in any way with road clubs to, contract calls out for different lockouts, here in the States, we have a very famous road club with three A's in their name. They are the biggest, stickler for this rule. If they catch you opening a car from the driver's side, that's really, in their mind, that's grounds for you to be cut from the company. And then they might even, consider dropping the company altogether from the contract. So if you guys want to, cover yourselves here, never start at the driver's side. If you guys think that, some of you guys were saying, I've done this my whole career and no one's ever said anything, that's okay. But I've worked at many companies that were affiliated, and I've watched secret shoppers get onto these guys. If they catch you, it's either a very stern warning or your company could just let you go altogether. Your company should tell you this rule. If they don't, or they send you with a trainer that they expect to teach you and they didn't, that's going to fall, up the ladder there. But ultimately, it falls on you to know this. And if you don't know it, I'm teaching it to you guys now. Any shop that you go to, whether you work for yourself, whether you work for a company, whatever the situation, you never start at the driver door. And in really any case, you never want to open the driver's side door. So many of you guys asked why. Mishaps. Many things can go wrong on an automotive lockout, especially if you're new. Even if you're seasoned, there are things that I've seen happen on automotive lockouts. Everyone thinks that they're just really easy situations, but it's mishaps and customer complaints. So some of these are weather stripping, latches, glass, scuff marks, locks being broken, handles being broken, and buttons being broken. Just some of the reasons. Weather stripping is like the biggest call that road clubs get back after, the member calls, you unlock their car, they drive home and they're like, I hear this wind noise now. You guys owe me weather stripping. That's a big one. Latches, if you're inexperienced with, lockouts and mess up and you incorrectly use the air wedge, you can break somebody's latch. You can break someone's glass. I've watched guys, especially on frameless windows, they get really cocky and they're like, I use air wedges all the time on glass windows. I've watched those guys, live by that, and then eventually they go and they break a window using an air wedge. You don't get lucky for long. Scuff marks is another big one. Many cars, even brand new cars, they'll, have surface scratches very quickly. Most people don't know this. They kind of don't even notice it until they watch you, air wedge their door open and then slide in a tool. All of a sudden now it's kind of like if you've ever worked as a mechanic, or if you've worked in like appliance repair, really any type of repair ever, type job. If someone brings you something and they'd say this is broken and you fix it and you give it back to them, any sound that that thing makes, even if it sounded like that when it came in and it wasn't part of what you fixed, they're gonna blame you. They're gonna say, "How come it makes this rattle sound? How come it makes this knocking sound, or whatever it is?" Same thing, with weather stripping and scuff marks and all of this. Locks, especially because sometimes people will call you and they won't really. There are people out there that look for a big payday. They won't tell you, "Hey, my lock is broken." They're gonna let you go ahead and use your jiggle key, and if it doesn't work or it's frozen up or seized up or whatever the reason, they're gonna blame you for it and they're gonna demand that you buy them a new lock. You really don't want to go with too many, options on a lockout. You kind of want to keep it as simple as you can, but you want to watch for those types of people. You never know who they are. I like to believe that everybody's, going to be honest with me, but I know that doesn't always happen. Um, I've even been to calls before where, I've shown up and their buttons don't work when I try to use the button to unlock the car. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and hit the unlock button and it'll work. And sometimes I've done it and it doesn't work. And it didn't work prior to me being there. And they've tried to, they're like, "You broke the button." And they'll straight argue with me all day on that. And I'm like, there's no way in any universe what I just did broke this. And then it can get really messy. So even in the case that maybe you do break a button, you never want it to be on the driver's side. That's where the driver is sitting all the time. So they're going to definitely notice everything on their side. So even if there's scuff marks or whatever, the weather stripping, the wind noise, whatever's going on, you want it to be away from their ear. You don't want it to be on their side. All because of callbacks. You're going to get all these callbacks if you do this on the driver's side more than the passenger side. And your boss is going to flip out. The only time that you go to the driver's side is if you have no other option. So I have been to calls before where the car was missing its outside and inside handles on the passenger side, and I had to go to the driver's side. In those cases, take photos. This is the age of cell phones. You can use your phone, take a photo, send it to your boss. Say, "Look, you see the timestamp on this text? I'm here now. I didn't do this. There's a reason I went to the driver's side." Because if they call back and they complain and they say driver door to that road club, that is like they just fire just comes out of their ears, and they just want to just get rid of you. So always cover yourself on that. Um, I've had also I've had a call where I got to a door where the latch and the outside door latch and the inside didn't work. So it was unlocked, but there was no way to open this door. Like, it just wasn't happening. So I had to go to the driver's side. There was a rival, company. The guy was on his lunch right next to, like, a few spaces over, and he saw me and he came over and he's like, "How come you're going to the driver's side?" Like, he saw my big road club sign on my truck and he was like, "Why are you doing that?" And I showed him. I was like, "You clearly, if you watch the first half of this, the door, the latches don't work." So I went back and I showed him. I was like, "Watch." I, air wedged it out. It had to be a reach tool. There was no way to get into this. And, I showed him and he's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "So you have to do it." So I went around and he watched it and I went over to the driver's side, very carefully used the sleeve, no damage. I even really, emphasized the lack of damage. I was like, "Watch everything I'm doing," like a magician out here. I opened it and he was like, "Nice job." I went to my next call. He drove to my company and ratted me out. He said, "You know that guy out there? He just went straight for the driver door, doesn't know what he's doing. Terrible, terrible work ethic, terrible this and that." He's like, "You're lucky I didn't go to the road club." And you have guys out there. If you guys have even watched some of my previous videos recently, there are guys that once they see, like, they want to just take you down. Like, they just do not like you. And you have to just kind of watch out. Like, you have to cover yourself, get video if you need to. Photos always help. Um, just I'm telling you guys this to cover your own skin. You know what I mean? If you weren't taught this, you're taught it now watching this video. So, road clubs aren't going to say, "Oh, your trainer didn't teach you." They're going to say, "Yeah, you know what? We don't want you, working with this guy, or we're going to drop you if you have guys doing this, and you're going to get blamed for it." So it's really on you to learn some of this stuff, and I'm teaching you this to save your guys' career and your reputations. And just as a couple of side notes here, always deflate the air wedge if you're using the reach tool before you open the door. So once you unlock it, before you pull that handle, or if you pull, push the lock up, before you pull the outside handle, always deflate the air wedge, or you risk damaging the latch of the vehicle. Also, never use an air wedge on a frameless window, like I was talking about earlier. Guys always, argue with me on it, and they're like, I've been doing that for years, and I knew a guy, he used to tell me the same thing, and then one day he was like, yeah, he's like, I got in a lot of trouble. He's like, I air wedged it and I broke the window. And he's like, I got lucky for, a couple years, because you don't really come across frameless windows all the time. So when people say I've been doing it for years, it might only be like 3 cars over 3 years. So that one car that you come across, there is a good chance it can break. So I will show you guys different techniques to where you don't even need an air wedge for those. I would recommend you use just the sleeve. The sleeve works perfectly. They sell these little 50-cent folders at the back to school section at Walmart. I use those. They're very slick, and you can cut them into multiple pieces and have a whole bunch of them. And they're very slick, so you just slide it between the weather stripping and the window, and it just lets you effortlessly just slide the reach tool through. Doesn't damage the glass, doesn't damage anything. Lets you, unlock the car, and you're fine. You're clean, you're out of there. So for a 50-cent, folder, you can make probably 8 to 10 sleeves out of that thing. Definitely recommend. They come in like blue and green and black and different color folders. Get the ones that are like really slick plastic, not the paper ones. So that's just my advice. Just wanted to show you guys and cover this just to, help you guys really just protect yourselves out there. So just remember, always get photos, video if you have to. Document everything, save your own skin, and just keep an eye and just do what you guys do. But I just wanted to go over that and explain to a lot of you, because there's so many messages, I can't really get through all of them, and I don't want to miss some of them and have any issues. So just wanted to make this video for all of you guys. So that's really all there is to it. Thank you guys for tuning in and subscribing. If you'd like to learn more about locksmithing and you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. And as always, stay safe out there. Good luck on your jobs, and have a nice day.